All right, here we are, June 20th, 2022. Thanks for joining us, folks, for another episode of Jackman Radio. And very excited today to have a great guest. She's one of the funniest comedians to come out of Boston. She's known as the Dorchester Debutante. It's the great Laura Severse. Laura, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, nice shirt there. The Sox they're doing well this year, right?
Yeah, I don't care about the Sox. I mean, I care about the Sox, but I don't get invested until like September because I don't have the emotional bandwidth at this point in my life. I just can't.
I'm with you. I only go to a game if I'm going to be comped, and I know I have really good seats.
We actually had like family, like these 10 packs, and we went all the time. And then, we had the kids, and between work and comedy and all of that, it just became like too much. And I can't expend that kind of mental, I just can't get that deep into sports anymore. Like, I love it. I'm in it. I follow, football season is like, the greatest time of the whole year as far as I'm concerned. But like, I just can't get 100% anymore because it's just I just can't handle the up and the down and the up and, you know what I mean? Like, it's too much for me now.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's definitely a commitment. I watched the Bruins a lot as a kid, and yeah, I'll be honest, I really don't follow a lot of sports anymore. But if I get invited to friends to watch a game and hang out for a few hours, I'll do something like that. And we actually just went to Fenway last week to see Paul McCartney. And
I was there.
Oh, really? Which night? Do you remember?
Wednesday, I think it was.
That's when we went.
Yeah.
Right?
Great
Wednesday,
show.
Wednesday the 8th.
Oh, amazing. The only thing is we sat in the, where did we sit, Eric? The
right near Pesky's pole.
Oh, the seats were unforgiving for big boys, I'll tell you.
Oh, I know the struggle. Believe me, I've been there. Yeah.
But yeah, where were your seats?
We were like, if you were looking at the stage head on, we were in the right field. So we were, kind of watching him angled, but it was fine. And it was like, I brought my mother, she's 77. She'd never gone to a concert at Fenway. She'd never seen Paul McCartney. Oh. So it was like kind of something I needed to do for her. And I just, so I had to, when you take an elderly parent somewhere, you just kind of committed from like the moment you pick them up until the moment you drop them off. That it's going to be an annoying, fucking horrible night, but you just have to smile and just like get through it. In the back of your mind, you're like, this person's not going to be here forever, so who cares if she's being super fucking annoying? You know what I mean? So you just have to like at one point, like he started singing Blackbird, and she turned to me and she was like, "Now, do you know that this song is about racial inequality?" And I'm like, "I do. Yep, I sure do." And you know how I know that? Because every time we hear this song, you turn to me and say, "Did you know that?" And it's like, "Shut up, lady." Like, "Yep, you've been telling me this for 40 years. Like, I know that. Thank you."
I played it just in time for Juneteenth. That's why I played it.
Clearly.
Yeah, we brought our mom too, actually, Laura, and same deal. I mean, she's 64 now, so I mean, she's not quite 77, but a night out in the city for I used to be Somerville girl, now New Hampshire girl at 64 is it's a big ask. But she had never seen McCartney, and she had a blast too, man. It was just so cool to look over and see my mom singing along to those songs that she grew up with,
Yeah, that made it all worth it. I actually have a picture of her where she's like going like this. She's like, and she looks like a child, and I'm like, all right, that was worth it.
Yeah, totally. It's a driving Miss Daisy scenario, but no, but totally. I mean, we used to we'd go to the Garden and see McCartney with our dad, and our mom had never seen him, and it was a great opportunity. So I took her out to lunch, and I said, "Mom, we got a ticket. What do you think? We're going on Wednesday. You want to come?" And she was just shocked. So that was cool. It was a great experience.
Good. I'm glad. Mine too. It was well worth the 8 hours of annoyance, but yeah.
8 hours of hard labor.
Yeah, pretty much. The funny thing of it is, I mean, she's a Dorchester girl too. She grew up in Dorchester. She still rides the train, which I'm like horrified by, because I'm like, you should just be Ubering or driving. Like, I really don't need you falling down on the train and nobody knowing who you are or where, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, that scares me, because she's got a bum knee and whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's a chaotic thing, and it makes me crazy. I will tell you, the night she came to see me at the Wilbur, she took the train, and I was like, after the show, I was like, how are you getting home? And she was like, oh, I'm just going to jump on the train again. I'm like, oh my God, lady, it's like, you 9:30 at night, and you're getting on the train, and she's like, who cares? I'm like, all right, fine, whatever.
She's a tough old school Dorchester gal, it sounds like.
She doesn't think anybody's gonna fuck with her, and I'm like, no, everybody will fuck with you. Like, you're crazy, but whatever. It's her life, so.
Yeah, and the Wilbur. So yeah, that's when I first saw you, Laura, and heard about you. And my brother and I, we got tickets for ourselves and 4 of our other good friends who all love Tim Dillon. And we went big. We got front row seats to one of those shows there. I think that was July of last year.
It was July last year. It was Wednesday through Friday. I want to say it was like the 20th or through the 20th or the 21st through. Yeah, the 1 year anniversary is actually coming up. What night were you there? Do you recall?
We were there.
Was it the first night?
I think it was.
There were 6 shows altogether, right?
Yeah.
We were there, I think, for the second night of shows.
Oh, okay, Thursday. So that would have been, I would have hit my stride a little bit better that night because Wednesday night I was an absolute disaster. I mean, I still did really well, but I was so like anxious about. I was the first comic to hit that stage after they had been shut down for COVID, so that was like a huge pressure. Plus, opening for Tim is a huge pressure.
Yeah.
His fans, you never know what you're going to get, and then just being on that stage, so it was like a huge combination. So that first set Wednesday night, I was rocky. I had 2 or 3 friends in the audience, and one of them texted me afterwards. He's a comic, and he was like, "Listen, you did fine. It took you 5 minutes to get them, but it was good. I know you're going to get in your head about it." And of course I did. I was beside me. I actually stood in the alley like smoking and crying and trying to get myself together for the next show because I was like, I have to come out so hard with this crowd. You know what I mean? Like there's no mercy. Tim Dillon fans are a breed unto themselves, you know what I mean? And you have to be able to control them and get to them like right away. So it's not an easy open, I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you when you came out and I heard you were from Dorchester, you were instant fire when we were there, and I was blown away. I mean, you're talking about your husband's balls and your kids, and I was like, dude, this is like, one of our relatives from Dorchester. Yeah, I know this lady. I fucking know her, man. So our dad grew up in Dorchester, and he moved there from Ventura, California in 1968. And he lived there from 68 until probably mid 73, 74. Then he moved over to Southie. But one of his brothers married a Dorchester girl, and we know it. We know the breed, and it was just instant familiarity and so hilarious. So I'd just like to know how you got into comedy and like how it all started for you and everything.
It started young. My parents were like, my dad was this is odd, but he was a military brat, and then he enlisted and was not able to actually be in the military because he was diagnosed with like diabetes and whatever. And from then he completely did a full turnaround where he became like this radical hippie, and then they had me. And from there, they never censored anything because they didn't believe in censorship. So I would be watching like Carlin and Pryor at like 8. You know what I mean? And not like I was allowed to read anything I wanted to. I was allowed to watch anything I wanted to, and that's good and bad. But one of the things it did is it instilled in me very early on just this really deep love of music and reading and comedy specifically. I mean, I was raised on Carlin. Like to me, he's the GOAT, and he always will be. That's where the love began. And I knew all through high school and into college that I wanted to do stand-up, but I was just never brave enough to do it. When I was in my late 20s, I took a class at like the Boston Center for Adult Ed in stand-up, and then I did great, and I even did a spot at like one of the local clubs, and it was fun, but I never followed through. I met my husband. Well, I didn't know he was going to be my husband, obviously, but I met Josh, Tony Ballbag, and and then I just got caught up with all that, the getting married, the having the kids, blah, blah, blah. And then in my mid to late 30s, I got a blood clot, like a random blood clot. And I almost, it wasn't great. And in that moment, I had that, that you only live once moment. And I was like, fuck this. I'm going to stand on stage. I've watched enough comedy at this point that I know that I don't know the rules, and I don't know this, that, and the other thing, but I know I'm funny, and I know that's half the battle. So if I can harness that that's what I want to do. So that's how it all started. I got sick and was like, I don't want to live this life and not at least have tried,
Yeah, you don't want to have that regret after potentially life-ending health situation happens. And
And it
oh,
was,
totally.
yeah. So and then it snowballed. And I will say that here in Boston comedy, like in the Boston comedy scene, I've always been treated really well. There's probably like a handful of people that I can really point to that I can say like they weren't helpful or they were a dickhead or whatever. For the most part, like I've always been treated really well in this scene. And I moved up pretty quickly. Like I'm only like 7 years in, and I can headline locally. I've done the Wilbur now. Like I'm starting to actually kind of cap out here in Boston because it's like, what are they going to do with me now? I'm not big enough to like draw like a huge crowd at like Laugh Boston, say for example. But I'm headlining Nick's Comedy Stop in July. Actually, that's the anniversary weekend that I'll be there. So like I'm in a
Cool.
good position. So yeah. So it's time for me to probably, if I'm going to pursue comedy very seriously, it's probably time for me to actually move on from Boston, like physically. So that's
hit the road.
Yeah. We're
Have-
we're probably moving out of California, to be honest with you. I mean, LA is probably where I need to be. So I think that's what the plan is going to be. So.
Wow, yeah, that's quite a move. Have you performed in New York City or any other states in New England, or do you?
I perform all over New England. Like I'll drive anywhere. I'll do anything. In New York, I've performed in. I mean, I'm all over the place. I mean, you name it. San Diego, LA. I spent 6 weeks out in LA back in January. I spent I spent like late January all the way through March out there performing, and I don't know, just really like kind of enmeshing myself into the comedy scene out there and whatever. And it was great. Like it was really cool. And I mean, I got away with Bloody Blue Murder because the second you slap the accent on, people are like, ugh, they get nervous. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Right.
There's a danger element when you hear that Boston accent,
Yeah, you might get punched.
Punch, yeah, you might get caught up in a gangland shooting. It could be some kind of FBI, Whitey Bulger FBI intrigue. You don't really know.
You don't know. You have no idea what could happen. I am a wild card, full of chaos.
But yeah, you were amazing at the Wilbur, and yeah, Tim Dillon. Tim first came on my radar when I'm sure for a lot of people when he did Rogan, and he did Rogan one of the first times and had a copy of a book called Family of Secrets, The Bush Family Secrets, and I'm like, okay, this guy has a copy of that book. That's very interesting. It's a book that I've read, and once I heard him start telling a story and riffing and saying who he was, I was like, this guy's brilliant. I haven't seen a genius like this come around in a while.
He is arguably one of the smartest human beings I know. He is exceptionally well read. That's one of the things we do. That's actually one of the things that kind of bonded us was our reading, because I'm like a prolific reader, and I'll read anything. Like you can put anything in front of me. I'll read. I mean, I think I've got like, I've got like a Bush at War, Decision Points, Bruce Springsteen, John. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if you can see all that, but like I don't even care. Like whatever, you know what I mean? Like I'll just read it. And he and I both are massive, massive readers. And one of the things that we bonded over was we both have this deep affection for New York. Well, it has to be specifically Manhattan. Old money. And we love like grand dames. Like we loved like, Mrs. Astor, and like we have like the Vanderbilts. Like we have this, we both love that like old money, like just dirtball shit that went on. Like it's the best. And we both love the architecture too. So we actually both read this book called 740 Park, and he and I full blown obsessed with all the buildings along Park Avenue. So we always talk about that. Like Tim is a very interesting human being because not a lot of people realize how fundamentally he is so fucking smart. Like he's so deeply intelligent, And people will kind of blow past that because the full picture. But and it's the same thing with me. People think, oh, she's a townie, she's this, she's that. They don't realize I'm educated, and I studied Latin for 12 years. I play classical piano. We grew up poor, but not stupid. You know what I mean? There's a difference. And that's, so Tim and I, and also, what was it? The very first thing that we did, the very first night we ever met, years upon years ago, we just quoted Sebastian Maniscalco back and forth to each other. We kept trying to outdo each other in terms of who's doing the better Sebastian, and his is great, but I think mine is good too. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I can see that people would just see the Meghan McCain or some of his more outrageous stuff and not see the brilliance of him and realize the deep knowledge that he has in research. And that sounds like same with those books you're talking about that you have there, and then your background. Obviously, there's a brilliant foundation there, and I think that's foundation of any really good comedy or a comedian, especially someone who can be quick on their feet. And do crowd work or just respond to something thrown at them. You have to have some serious knowledge about a lot of different things.
Yeah, I'll say this about Tim, and I'll say this about myself. Like, there's never really a time, specifically for him and Ben too. I mean, they're literally reading every single thing that's coming out all day long because they have to be, on top of everything. And then someone like me, I have to make sure that I'm staying fully aware of what's going on in various places, because you never do know what someone's going to throw at you out of the audience, or you never do. And also I want to be able to speak intelligently on whatever it is I'm talking about. I have this new rant I do about student loans, and it's sometimes it's like people are like, yeah, depending on the generation, and then other people are like, fuck you. So, but I have to be able to be on my feet about it in case I get the fuck you, because I'm like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a whatever. But like my take is that basically that because I'm Gen X, I worked 3 jobs. I'm still working through the joke, but I worked 3 jobs 7 days a week to pay off my student loans. So if these motherfuckers get their student loans forgiven, I want them all to write me a check for $1,000, right? And now the take on that is shitty because I'm essentially blaming this crew for getting these loans forgiven, when the reality of the matter is I personally believe that student loans are the biggest fucking fraud fronted by the government and whoever, all these private companies ever. Like, you don't ask an 18-year-old kid to sign away their fucking life. You know what I mean? That's unacceptable. So I actually am very progressive and liberal about how I actually feel about student loans, but I know for joke purposes, yelling at them about how they're going to owe me money, I know that's a funny thing. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's great when, even if you believe something a certain way, or on any given subject, if you can look at it from other people's other demographics and age brackets perspective, and then be able to go in the pocket with that and come up with a good take on it. I think that's a great way to consider jokes and certain humor, and depending on where you are, I mean, knowing your crowd, right? I mean, this
is the thing too. When they talk about like reading the room, that is truly it's a very valuable skill to have, and you have to do it. And the reason is because you can do the same joke night after night after night, and depending on where you are, that joke is either going to hit and crush, or it's going to fall flat and people are going to hate you. And I will give you a very specific example. Here in the Northeast, I do a whole joke, and Eric, you know this because you've seen me. What I talk about my son being a real fat ass, right? Like I say he's fat, he's got ADHD, he's got braces, and then I always say, but I love this kid, right? When I was out in LA, I would do that same exact joke. And the second I said my son is fat, they would shut down because how dare I fat shame him? How dare I? And I couldn't figure it out. I did it 3 times in a row. Finally said to another comic, like, why aren't they laughing at that? Everybody back home laughs at that. And she's like, because this is LA and people are like accepting and you're fat shaming. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had to figure out how to make that joke work in a different way. And then you have to adapt to that. You know what I mean? So I still say he's fat, but I also say, everybody relax. He's charming. He's handsome. One presumes he's going to get taller. I don't want you to worry about him. The thing that's going to get him is not the fat, it's the CTE. You know what I mean? And then that makes people laugh. You know what I mean? Like, so you kind of have to reshape. But I can walk into a room, in Foxborough, and it's all 60-plus-year-old older white people. So I have to do a set tailored to them, as
Right.
opposed to going over to Somerville or Cambridge where it's all like liberal, woke, young. You know what I mean? You really have to be on your toes, and you have to have enough material that you can pull from to change up where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, knowing where you're performing, the demographics of that neck of the woods, and who your audience is going to be made of. My entertainment career has not been totally like that of a traditional stand-up. What I got known for and have had the most success is my Donald Trump impersonation.
It's very good. It's very good.
Thank you, Laura. You know I love you. I love you.
You know what?
I do.
It like creeps me out. It's that good. Like it's like, yeah. It's weird.
That makes me feel really good.
You're not the first person to. I've seen people. It's usually women like recoil when Eric does that, and it's disturbing. But it also means that it's a good impression. I think.
It's one of the better ones I've ever heard. But it's very like, ugh, because the way he talks is so creepy. You know what I mean? His like cadence and stuff. It's so like I can't. I'm just like, ugh. It's weird, but it's great. It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, I know it's such a universally recognized character, so I've had that advantage over a lot of other performers, and it's helped me get a lot of work and do gigs and stuff, that I probably never otherwise would have had, and it's been quite an amazing experience, and it is very exhilarating getting up in front of a huge crowd of people, and they're waiting for you. You're the quarterback. You're steering the ship.
Yeah.
And it's still nerve-wracking. It's still nerve-wracking, and I can imagine you were probably your first go around there at the Wilbur in that crowd. It had to have been pretty like, whoa.
It was daunting, like and Tim is so very classically Tim. I knew he was coming. I bought tickets because I always support whenever he's in town. I'm like, I'll be there. And I typically open for him when he's like at Laugh or whatever. Like that's, but I never was expecting him to ask me to open at the Wilbur because he had an opener, but also it was such big shows that I was like, yeah, he's going to bring a next tier comic. So when he ever asked, I was like, oh my God, yeah, of course, like, and so that was like such a big deal. It's so funny because the text, he's like, hey. Feature for me at the Wilbur, blah, blah. I just wrote back, yes. Like, I didn't even, but meanwhile, I was like, oh, what?
Sure.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're doing backflips.
Yeah. I was like, I almost wrote back to him, oh, shit, I don't think I can. I got a bar show down on Lansdowne. Anyway. And then we went to Foxwoods that Saturday night, too, which was unbelievable. That was such a great show. That was really fun. But
yes.
The text exchange is very funny. I actually screenshot it and sent it back to him, and he was just like, okay.
Oh, no, that's something you print out in your frame and you have forever.
I'm not going to lie. I made a photo album. Like, it's in there.
That's something I would have there. Yeah, that's amazing. So you were just anticipating going and watching the shows?
Yeah, because when he's in town, I always go and support. And then we always have dinner or lunch or whatever. We all hang out. Like, he's, he and my husband, like, he loves my husband. Like, we, he's been around the kid, like yes. So I said to him, I picked the late show Friday on purpose so we can go have dinner in the North End afterwards. And he was like, yeah, no problem. And then it was like, like a week before the shows. And I just, like I said, was anticipating just going as a fan, like I would. And I got the call up to the big leagues. I was very excited.
That's awesome. So your friends and family who've been with you on the whole journey, what was their response? They had to have been so psyched for you.
Oh, what you need to understand too about Bob Tony is that he is the most supportive, kind, like this guy could write the roadmap of how to be like the perfect husband. So I actually called him the second I was done with Tim. I actually called him frantically and was like, "You're not gonna believe this!" And he's like at the field with Teddy, like doing football shit or whatever. I don't even. But probably baseball because it was summer, and he was like, "Oh my God, that's so great!" Like, because he wasn't expecting it either. Like, Tim can be a wild card; you never know. And I just go with the flow and whatever. But yeah, I mean, dude, that was a big deal. And it wasn't one show at the Wilbur; it was 6 sold out shows, and that was so massive. Like, that was a big deal. But it's funny because I wasn't sure. I didn't. By the time that show had rolled around, like we had done the wallet, And in the wallet, I weighed, like 305 pounds, and then by the time the Wilbur rolled around, I had dropped probably 75 or 80. And I had said to Tim, I'm like, I'm thinking about coming right out and just, doing the clown line. And he's like, they're not going to recognize you. And I was like, they'll recognize the voice. He's like, I'm telling you now, they're not going to recognize you. And I was like, they might not. You're right. You're the expert. But so it was, but anyway, it was great.
I can't deny at all. That's exactly it. Like I had seen the wallet and I knew about it, and I didn't even put that together that was you until recently when you posted with Dan Carney.
Oh yeah.
A picture with him, and I was like, holy fuck, that's Laura in the wallet? No way.
That's her?
Oh, so yeah,
She's everything.
We need to hear all about the wallet. How did that come to be? Where did the idea come from? And where was that? Was that down on the Cape? Where'd you guys film that?
So that's actually my house on the Cape. So basically, he was in town. He was in Providence doing shows at the Comedy Connection, which is a great.
We were there.
Oh, were you at those shows? Okay,
yeah.
So he left those and they drove right to the Cape because he called me and was like, where are you? And I was like, well, tell me what you're trying to do. And so he explained it to me. And I said, all right, well, here's the thing. Do you want city white trash or do you want beach white trash? Because there's a difference. You know what I mean? And he was like, well, if you're down the Cape, we'll just do it down the Cape. And I was like, fine. So they came down and they stayed at the house and we had a blast and it was just ridiculous. He said to me, he's like, this is what I'm doing. And what I need you to do is just turn up the Boston trash thing. And then I went over Dan and I talked for a while about the accent and stuff. So I was trying to give him some pointers. And then Tim had said I'm just going to do a low voice, whatever. And I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, there's only certain words that you really have to be mindful of anyway. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think specifically, but I can't. But anyway, so they came down, spent the night. We got up early. They were out filming. I was out grocery shopping while they were on the beach.
Yeah, kind of just between. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was even working too. I think I was checking in on email and, but it was any time that I get to spend with Tim alone or not around the bustle of the nonsense of the Wilbur or the people even when I went to see him at the Beacon, I didn't get to have much time with them. But anytime I get to have time alone with him, it's so, I feel so lucky because he's just such a good person and he's so kind and he's so generous and he's so smart and it's funny, it's weird. People think he's a certain way that he's not, but he is, but he isn't. It's a crazy, it's weird.
What we put on stage is to a large extent who we are and what we are, but it's not exactly who and what we are.
Kind of exaggerated sometimes, I think.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I'm not walking around my house being like, these fucking jerk-offs. I mean, sometimes. But, that's not who I am all day, every day. You know what I mean? I'm actually, I'm not going to say mellow. That's ridiculous. I'm not a mellow. No one would ever describe me as mellow. But, I'm not in heightened anger every moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you really nailed it, though, just with I had Manchester by the Sea vibes. I had Good Will Hunting vibes. There was... the town, just every bad thing Ben Affleck's ever done, you guys encapsulated in those 90 seconds. And then the way you had the cigarette and you were like, it's just, I can't even tell you how much of a fucking masterpiece it is and what it means to us.
What I want to get my hands on the outtakes so bad because we had so much good, so much funny, I don't know how Ben edited down to what he did because we were at that table for so long, and I literally felt like a gorilla had sat on my chest the next morning because I smoked so many cigarettes. We were trying to get those takes, and then you had to have a certain level of continuity to it. So I'd have to suck it down, get it to where it was, and it was just oh my god, am I staying? Because no one smokes inside anymore. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, that's the other part of it too. It had a throwback vibe to it too, and so did you guys mostly just improv Was there a script, or did you got kind of?
no script. We each knew kind of what we were supposed to be doing. Like, for example, there were little things. Like, I will tell you, like, for example, I said to Tim, I go, I have a lazy Susan. I'm going to go around. I'm going to collect all the pill bottles in this entire house. We're going to put them on the lazy Susan. I'm going to buy a Star magazine. And he has a joke about women ashing in seashells. Well, I had 2 huge clamshells that they're actually on the table. You can't see them, which is kind of a bummer. But I said to Tim, like, we need to fill this with butts. And he's like, well, we can do that. The drinking, like, he's sober. I don't really drink ever. So we got, like, we had dark apple juice. Like, you know what I mean? But, like, that mother, that woman, my character, I grew up with her. That's Maggie Trajano's mom. That's Christina Wood's mom. That's, you know what I mean? That's everybody's, like, she and I will tell you this much. It's funny, like, I look back on that and I'm so fucking horrified by how big I am. But I say this, I think she kind of had to be. Like, I don't think she would have had the same impact.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't have worked, Laura, with present Laura.
No, I don't think so. So I think
No.
I need to be that big, to make her.
Yeah.
My favorite review of that whole thing was Barstool Sports. The writer was like, she's trash and I love her. And I was like, yeah, that's it. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat around that table with that mom and she's been smoking and bitching about the family. And I just knew her,
The beats are just so perfect. Your father was a fucking clown. It's just, Eric and I'll get up in the morning. It'll be the first thing I say to him sometimes, I'll go into his room and just say it to him. It might be 6 a.m.
It's awesome.
Tommy, I brought you here to talk about Dad and money. Dad invested in a new currency called Bitcoin. What did he have, like 100 Bitcoin?
Dad owned 100 Bitcoin. Not Bitcoin, but Biddle. It's such a Massachusetts friggin'.
It's a new currency designed by Elon Musk. Who's Elon Musk? He was an astronaut.
Tommy. And the music too.
Oh, I know. What an incredible, like, Ben is just brilliant. So one thing that bums me out though is there's this scene where they're on the couch and in the background there's like a thing of flowers on the thing, and I have like a stack of books like Kennedy's, and I'm so fucking mad that I didn't have like Ted Kennedy's book or like a JFK Jr. book in the back. Like, I'm so pissed about that because that would have been even more hilarious. Yes, like even more hilarious. You know what I mean? And the scene where I smacked Dan's hand. Yes.
Oh yeah, going for the pills.
Yes.
Every house in Massachusetts, every house in Boston's got the Pope and JFK.
Yes, and I am
Jack.
Actually, I know I don't have the book. I actually just gave it to Tim. I had Ted Kennedy's memoir. I literally gave it to him when he was at the Wilbur in March.
True Compass.
What's that?
His memoir, True Compass.
Yes.
Yeah, that came out when he was sick, right? When he was dying, I think.
Yeah. I gave it to him because I was like, I know how you feel about the Kennedys, but just read this. You know what I mean? Just read it. Like, that's the thing. He'll read anything. So, but yeah, that scene where I'm like, I slapped Dan's hand. That was like, I remember I had the cigarette and I saw his hand go and I'm like, I gotta slap his hand, but I had the cigarette. I was like, fuck it. And that ended up being like one of the funniest fucking things. I peed my pants when I watched that back. Like, it was so good.
It's so quick, but it's a movie I want to watch. I want to see the movie.
I feel the same way. I'm like, dude, someone should make this, please. I mean, you've got it right. It's right here for the taking. It's so good.
The thing is too, and I love this, that there's certain comedians, and I'm I know this subject has probably been spoken about, to death in a lot of ways, but I really feel like comedians sometimes make the best dramatic actors, and they can do that crossover or go into that darkness, because obviously with comedy, a lot of it is informed by darkness and certain life experiences that have caused you grief and pain and sadness, and you turn to that and turn it into comedy. But I think you guys could like, just those characters, like you could see that in like the 90-minute dramatic film, and people would watch it and love it. Like, absolutely. I don't know.
I swear to God. So I had my knee replaced back in March, and I was in the hospital. I was at the Baptist for a few days, and I was very tempted to actually text him and be like, you need to come and film me in the bed, and you being like, Ma, we still need that fucking password, and me being, and you're dying, and me being like, I'm not dying, I'm getting the lead done, you fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, I had a whole thing in my head, but he's on the road and he's so busy. But I know that the wallet was really fun. Like it was just a great time behind the scenes. And it came out so well. I mean, really, the production quality of that was just so excellent. That's a local company that did that. This group of guys, Trace Gattos, and they are excellent. So,
the production value is amazing.
Yeah, they do a ton of stuff around here. So it's they're around. But yeah, the whole thing was fun. Even down when he was in the pool room and he's writing I have a notebook, and I told him the other day, I said, I'm selling this as an NFT. He's like, yeah, go for it.
Oh, he'd love. That's a great idea. That's perfect. Yeah.
We're all about fake business around here, Laura.
I know. And I wonder what Tim Dillon fan I could sell that to for a cool, couple thousand. Finance that move to LA.
It would help, yeah. Or you could come to Austin, Laura. Start a podcast. Move to Austin to Joe Rogan's Club, which isn't even open yet, by the way.
Oh yeah, that whole thing. I can't.
Have you played in Austin? Have you ever done Texas? Or
I have not. I have tons of friends that moved out to Austin. I could go I have one of my really good friends that lives there. Like I have high school friends that are there now. It's not on my radar. Like I don't know. I think for me, if I'm going to go anywhere, it's New York or LA, because I mean, Austin is a great town, but it's just not, I don't know. I don't have any deep, like, burning desire to get there to do comedy,
Yeah, I feel like there's been a pretty big migration to Austin, and it's almost maybe not too saturated, but kind of like, there's probably other opportunities elsewhere that can be explored.
I would never move there for comedy. Like that just wouldn't be a thing. Like if you're going to do that, because it's still a secondary market. There are primary markets and there are secondary markets, and I wouldn't leave the secondary market to move to another secondary market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would happily, I would do comedy there. If I'm in Texas and I'm near Austin and my friends want to see me perform, I'll ask, and I could probably get a spot somewhere, and I would do it, of course. But I don't think it's not that I don't need to necessarily, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not going to sound like a jerk. I would happily do that.
Well, I mean, Boston is arguably the best stand-up, comedy scene in the whole country. Or I mean, it certainly was in the '80s, like when Lenny Clark was coming up and Stephen Wright, and
it's a great incubator. I mean, Gary Goldman, Bill Burr, Dane Cook, Mario Campone, Dennis Leary. I mean, the list, David Letterman, Louis C.K. Sorry, not David Letterman. I didn't mean to say that. Jay Leno. What David was, I think?
Rogan.
Yeah. I mean, you name it. Some of the biggest names in comedy have come out of here. And it's a great incubator. It's an unbelievable city for comedy. But if you want to break, you got to go. You know what I mean?
Well, New York is, it's not a bad jaunt, to make it to New York. And
no, not at all.
Have you played with Lenny Clark? Have you ever?
Yeah, we've done some shows together. He's great. He's awesome.
Lenny's great.
Yeah, he's so nice. I love him. Like he's very generous with young comics. Not young. I'm not young, but he's very generous to newer comics. He's just very I don't know. He gives you time. He makes you feel like, you're, matter. And that's the mark of a classy person and a good headliner, is when you let the other, you are kind and good to the other comics in the room, no matter the span of age, the time you're doing comedy. That's a very telling thing. And there are some headliners that are absolute pieces of shit. And then but I'll tell you, the bigger the headliner, the nicer they've been. I've worked with some really big names, and they've all been wonderful. Eliza Schlesinger could not have been nicer. Oh my God. Kind and funny and so smart and just really generous. I asked, she helped me work on a joke, for God's sakes. She's like, I love this. I love and she's amazing. God, I've worked with Jay Larson, Eric Griffin, Big J Okerson. Big J, another one. Almost got that team thing going on. Could not be nicer. Every night I came off we did a shit ton of shows together at Laugh. I was opening for him. I think we did like 6 or 7. I mean, we were packed from like Thursday through Saturday. I want to say like 2 shows a night, and they were even trying to add a third at one point. So we spent a lot of time together. And every time I came off stage, I would, he'd be like, "Did you have fun?" And I go, "I did." Like he's just another guy who's like so nice. Like you think they're going to be away, and they're not. But like I said, the bigger the headliner, the nicer they've been. It's wild.
That's good to hear that.
Yeah. Like Eric Griffin, holy shit, was that dude nice. Jay Larson, fucking awesome. Like I'm just, I've been very lucky. I've only worked with like one person that I was like, this guy's a real dick, and I'm gonna just leave the green room. You know what I mean? No big deal.
That was a bigger name guy, and he just was kind of just rude and just.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us his name. But what was his behavior like? What did he do?
So he was. To be honest with you, he's not like a household name. Like he's not like an Eliza, a Tim, Jared Freed, or Mark Norman, like Gillis. He's not even in that tier, which made it all the worse that he was acting so shitty. But we were in the green room, and typically the host and the feature will be in the green room, and the headliner will be there. And then what you do as the host for the features, you say to them like, "Do you want space?" So like Jay, for example, had family coming in, and I was like, let me get out of here. Like you need to have time with your family. Like people have their friends come in. You want to give them their space. They're about to perform for 45 minutes to an hour. But I'll hide in the corner and do my makeup or whatever, or I'll leave and go, whatever. This guy didn't want anybody in the green room. We weren't to look at him. We weren't to interact with him. And it's like, dude, I'm on your show. Like we're trying to give you and give this audience like a really good show. And so just maybe say hello. That's it. That's all we're asking. You know what I mean? Like, but again, he's not really anything, and I've never even heard of him again. So it's like, all right, goodbye. I think one of the things is the bigger you are, the more secure and comfortable you are about you and your comedy, and there's no cost to you to be nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You know what I mean? Like you're making good money, you're living your dream. Yeah, I'll be nice. If I'm fucking touring the country, I'll be nice to fucking everybody. Why not?
Absolutely. Oh, are you kidding me? He's smiling nonstop. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you got to get to headline status like that, you understand the grind of it, and what it takes to come up, and how many times you've done empty rooms, or you've fallen flat, or it's just sucked and you wanted to give up. So why would you not be anything but generous and giving and supportive to those who are doing it, and you know where they're at,
Absolutely. And I and it's funny, like I get continually blown away by how kind and nice and good these big names are. But I would like, to be honest with you, I would like to be that someday. I would like to roll into a city and say to a comic like, hey, come open for me for a few nights at the Chevalier, and then just I want to be able to do that someday for someone. Like I just feel like it's such a nice, good, kind thing to do, and comedy is so fucking hard and so competitive, and so it's nice to get reassured every once in a while that the good does exist, and
yeah. Well, Art, we just had another comedian on who actually Jay Okerson helped him get his start and get going. I don't know if you've heard of him, Zach Amico.
I know the name.
Yep. So he's part of the Gas Digital Network crew there with Dave Smith and Jay Okerson and Louis J. Gomez, those guys. And Zach said that too. He said, look, someone gets big, they remember their friends and the people who helped them get there. Yep. And to me, if something like that happened and, I got really big and I'm in a position to, help someone out or bring them on board, I don't think there's any better feeling than that.
I absolutely agree with you. Like I always say, like I said, one of my biggest dreams is to be able to get so big that I can actually help someone else or a few other people even. That's the goal. Like I'd like to bring people along with me. I have a friend in New York. Her name is Kenise Mobley. She's one of the best comics I know. She's an unbelievable writer, and she's one of those people. She's not huge yet. She's gonna break big. She's gonna be amazing. I think her goal is to be a writer on a show, but she's to me an example of somebody who, anytime an opportunity comes up that she doesn't fit for, she lets other people know about it. And my friend Chanel Ali is the same way. She'll send me a text being like, you should apply for this has got you written all over. Like, there's a few of us in this little, this network that are like, this isn't good for me, but it's good for you. Like, I got America's Got Talent contacted me about doing, the mom comic thing. And I'm like, I'm not your lady. I swear I don't like my kids. And I said, but I know who is good for you. And then I sent her 3 names of 3 other women I hate the mom comic thing. 3 other comics who happen to have some, mothery material in there. And one of them, got decently far, didn't end up making it, but that's okay. It's all about the
ride and the experience.
But you should try this, because that's the stuff you're going to remember and take back with you, I don't know. And it's good karma. If you're a dick and you hold those opportunities to yourself, well, what if my friend Kathy did make it to America's Got Talent? And then somebody was like, hey, you would be great for this sitcom. And then she could say, who would be great with me? My friend Laura. You never know. It's the butterfly effect. And I think if you take every opportunity you have to help push other people forward too, not at a cost to yourself, but along with yourself, I think it's fun. I think it's a good thing to do. I really do. I think it comes back for you.
Yeah, I did a big gig just before I call it the Flu World Order, just before the virus broke. And it was like a thing, and it was like rumblings of it in February of 2020. I remember hearing about this rumblings in China and all this shit. And I had I got hired as Trump to go entertain a big cigar company put on this big event with a former patriot and the Shriners Club down there in Wilmington, Mass. And it was just that huge auditorium full of 700 people there. And there was another established comedian who was performing, and we were kind of backstage before, I'm dressed as Trump. I had all my jokes, and he kind of looked at me, and he didn't know that I was going to be performing. And he just said, oh, you're kind of like a novelty act. You're like an exploding golf ball. You're not really a comedian. So I went out there and just fucking destroyed as Trump and had all 700 people just eating out of my hand and laughing. And it felt good to kind of show him, I think he just thought because he was kind of more established and, this guy's a clown. He's not going to have anything good. And I actually had really well-written jokes, thought out, developed concepts and stuff. And I just, one after one, kept destroying. So that was a good feeling. And that was, one of the last big shows before the virus started. So that was a real memorable one.
Good. Yeah, I don't think there's any merit in artists, whatever art form you're doing, shitting on one another. I don't get that, because a comedy especially, and you well know this, it's so subjective. I could have 20 minutes and 19 of my bits will hit, and then that one person will be like, I didn't like that one, but it's so subjective. So to judge anyone else's comedy or what they're doing, I don't think is really, there's any merit to it. What it reminds me of, this is a stupid analogy, but back in I don't even remember when, I just remember when Britney was kind of first on the scene, and Pink and all these other female artists were like, she's not really singing, and I'm like, guys, there's room for everybody here. Yeah, she's not a fucking singer, she's a performer. She's not a singer, okay? Nobody's going to be like, oh, the voice of, that's heaven. You know what I mean? No one's going to say that, okay? But leave her alone. Who gives a shit? How does it affect you? It's not taking money out of your pocket, so shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. There's room for everyone, because you're always going to be someone's favorite, and you're always going to be someone's not favorite. But let the people decide that, not you.
Exactly. We got a quick super chat here from our friend Patty, whose house we were just at. How many daughters does he have, Mike? Do it.
I have 14 daughters. That's not good.
That's not.
Is it 14? How many daughters is it, Laura? 14.
It's not daughters.
Daughters.
It's dogs.
Oh, dogs.
Oh.
Wow. Patty, we didn't.
And it's 17.
I have 17 dogs.
That's not good, Tommy.
That's been the debate. It's daughters, dogs, dollars. It's dogs.
Wow.
There you go. You're welcome.
From behind the scenes, Patty. It was worth the $5 super chat. That blew my mind. So do you think you guys might do any more skits, or are you in your own, like, are you kind of more just focused on stand up, or do you think like skits might be something that you want to get more into? Or
I'll do anything. Like with those the Trace Gatos guys, the guys that filmed the wallet, like I've been in a few sketches with them. Like we've got, I'll do anything. I'm pretty much strictly stand up, but like I love sketch comedy, I love sketch writing, and I'm happy to I'll just get a text and someone will be like, "Can you be here at this time and do this?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure." You know what I mean? So it's not a no, but it's whatever's in the wind, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, if an opportunity presents itself, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say no to anything that's going to put me out there, because the goal is to be out there. So.
Right.
Now, I'm a Laura fan, Carmen says.
She's really pretty.
Laura, oops. Oh, yeah, we love Carmen Smith-Studer. She's very beautiful. She's a good friend of mine. Very good friend of mine. And we're working on some projects with some Russians right now, quite frankly.
Well, not for nothing, but no offense to you, Eric, but she definitely can do better friend-wise. Like, she's like a true knockout. Not someone you see in real life. Like that.
Carmen, what is she doing cohorting with the likes of us ruffians?
Carmen is very. She's
like, come on, she's better than you. She's way better than
Carmen is equally as brilliant and fun as she is beautiful, I will say.
That I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Have you seen the show Hacks, Laura?
Of course, I love it.
That show is great. That's such a fun. You were just talking about how bigger comics can bring others along with them, and I see that so much in that story. And I love the manager, the talent manager, the guy there who the situations he gets himself in. It's awful.
It's the best. It's the best. And I love the writing on that show is so good. Like that writing team just truly knows comedy, and the character, I would say obviously kind of loosely based on like Joan Rivers or whatever, but like she's so good and like so well developed, and it's such a good show. I will tell you, I don't know if you guys are into this show or not. It's not stand up or anything, but I cannot stop watching Letterkenny. Are you guys familiar?
I know about it. I've never seen it.
Oh my God. You want to talk about writing and like Chris, right? So it's on Hulu. There's 10 seasons, and then there's a spinoff called Shoresy. Every episode is probably like 24, 25 minutes. You have to watch it with subtitles. It takes place up in Canada. It's just a little tiny town. All the nonsense that happens with these people, but these fucking characters, the wordplay and the back and forth, you're just like, what the fucking shit? Oh my God. It's not a show that you can like be on your iPad, like playing a game. You have to pay attention or you will miss something utterly hilarious. It is so funny that I find myself having to pause it, get the laugh done, rewind, laugh again, and then keep going because it's so goddamn funny. It doesn't get near the recognition it deserves. So if one person watching this watches Letterkenny, I will be very happy. It's a great show. Love
I'm going to check it out now. Yeah, you're the second person recently to tell me that I would like that because our dad was from Canada, and that's where our grandparents were from, and all of our aunts and uncles.
You gotta watch it.
The Canadian humor informs a lot of what we do. Like my uncle, in my opinion, he grew up in Dorchester. He's the funniest person I've ever met in my life, and he's the biggest influence on me in my comedy. But no one knows who he is. But I think he missed his calling. He's a chiropractor in Framingham, so that in of itself is you get material from that. But so. We draw a lot of inspiration from him, and I think the tone in some of my jokes, I impersonated him a little bit, and I've seen interviews that Mike Myers has given, and he said he's always like impersonating his dad and like his brothers, and family. I really feel like family is one of the biggest influences for for performing and what material. Like obviously we have I love Bill Hicks. Before I knew who Bill Hicks was. I actually discovered him in college. One of my friend's roommates was like, "Oh man, he'd hung out with me a little bit." He was like, "Have you ever watched Bill Hicks?" I was like, "I never even heard of him." And it was like discovering Tim Dillon. So, when you get your comics that you like, man, it just clicks. So besides like Carlin and Pryor, who are some of your biggest influences
I
or
mean,
there?
I love. I mean, Bill Burr for me. I can't. There's nothing that he says that I don't love. Like, he's relatable. He's relatable. He's funny. He's smart, and his anger. I feel that. Like, that's how I feel every day of my life. So when he's like going on one of his tears, I'm just like, yeah, fucking yeah, I'm with you, buddy. Like, I love him. Gary Gulman, arguably one of the greatest comics ever. He is another one that should be a household name. His state abbreviations joke is arguably probably one of the most like top 10 GOAT jokes of all time. And when you do a deep dive into Gary, like, just his wordsmithing, and he's so smart, and I don't know. Like, I'll never be able to write like that because I'm just not that smart. You know what I mean? But like, I love Gary Gulman. I love Jared Freed. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of, oh my God. The last special I watched, which I was surprised about, was Fortune Feimster, and I fell on the floor fucking laughing. Like, I like her just as a person and as a comic. Like, I've always enjoyed her stand up, but her last special on Netflix, it's called like Salty and Sweet. I've actually watched it 5 times now because I cannot. It's so goddamn funny. Louis C.K. was somebody that I love more than anything. His special, oh my God, I kept it on my DVR for over, I want to say like 2 years or something insane, because I would just put it on, and I could like he does this whole bit about who's smarter, like at the 24-year-old PhD student or the 50-year-old truck driver who's staying at a motel on the Cape and finds a dead body in the pool. And for some reason, no matter how many times I've heard that joke, and I've heard it hundreds of times now, I will still fucking lose it because it's so smart. Like, he's just, I don't know. He's he's somebody I really like. And who else? I'm trying to think. There's it's funny when you get into comedy and you're doing comedy. I don't know if you guys have found this for yourselves yet. Making me actually laugh out loud is harder and harder and harder. And I'll watch a special and I'll be like, she's not that funny. And it's such a shitty thing to do because it's like,
I could do that.
Yeah, you're just like, that was like okay joke, but like I would have done it this way. Well, okay, bitch, but you're not on Netflix, so you're not doing it all right. You know what I mean? Like, but it is harder and harder to laugh. Taylor Tomlinson is someone I love. This is a good story. When Tim was filming his Netflix 15, that night Taylor Tomlinson was filming hers. Michelle Buteau was there. Max Silvestri, I think his name is. Whatever, there were a few of them filming, and so I got to meet her like super briefly, but she fucking murdered that night. Like, that room, she just crushed the room. And when she came off stage, and I was just like, that was the best I've ever seen. And she was like, thank you. And I no, very politely, I don't want to make it out like that. She was super gracious, but I was just like, man, I just talked to Taylor. Like, I mean, I didn't said good things, but she was unbelievable. I really like her. She actually does a whole bit about trying to buy a Father's Day card and how difficult it is, because so she ends up just being like, "You're a dad, thanks," and like it's very funny, super relatable. I don't know. I mean, you know, I would encourage you guys to watch the Fortune Feimster special, because she does this whole thing about Hooters that's going to have you on the floor. Like, it's great. It's really cool. And
Yeah.
she's on the swim team. When she gets to the part about being on the swim team, lock in. It's fucking great.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm going to watch tonight, Laura.
Telling you.
And she did one. They did, I think, like a LGBTQ one, and Rosie was in it, and I was like, oh, I got to see. I love Rosie. Okay, I'm gonna put it out there. I love Rosie. She's the reason that Trump exploded into the zeitgeist back in 2006 for me when they had the feud, and that was our oxygen for like. We just annoyed the hell out of my mom. Just being like, Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting. Okay, you take a look at her, she's a slub. You know. And then Rosie did the impression of Trump when she flipped her hair on The View. I'm going to give her a second chance at the beauty pageant. And Rosie's Trump is arguably one of the great unsung Trump impressions.
Yeah.
And So I was watching this special. I'm like, oh, I want to see what Rosie has to say. And it was the end of the show, and she hadn't come on stage yet. And they just had her there, like, playing drums on Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper. And that was, like, all she did.
Oh.
It was cool to see that, though.
Yeah.
But
that's a bummer, though. I would have liked to have heard from her, yeah.
I was disappointed. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. There's a couple specials out right now. Netflix, as a joke, just had the big festival, and so they've cut what they had from it, and they're on Netflix right now. Amy Schumer's got one with a bunch of comics, and Eliza's on one with like Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlinson. Like, so there's a bunch of Netflix as a joke stuff. Bill Burr actually has one. He's got like 5 or 6 comics that he really likes doing sets, which is great.
Oh, we watched that. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
And then Pete Davidson's got one too that I started.
Yes, I gotta watch that.
Pete Davidson, and then we watched the Bob Saget tribute. That was really touching with John Mayer and Stamos and Chris Rock, and who else was up there?
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. They got Jim Carrey, and I guess for that one they didn't have any kind of plan. They just kind of all showed up, and what you saw is what happened. So it's still crazy to think that just in the last year we've lost Bob Saget, Gilbert Gottfried, and Norm Macdonald. I mean, talk about huge losses in the comic world.
Yeah. And the Bob Saget one was just so sudden and crazy. Like it just like out of nowhere. Like Gilbert was a little bit older.
He was in bad health for a while.
Yeah, and Norm Macdonald, now we know he was sick, so it's like makes more sense. But the Bob Saget thing, that was tragic. Because it was like, it's very clear that I think he like whacked his head. Like, I don't even think it was like, and to die alone in a hotel room and in Florida. It's like layer on layer of shit.
So to kind of close things out here, Laura, I want you to just tell us a little bit about Nick's. You said you're headlining there in July. Tell us about that.
Yes, so I am headlining Nick's Comedy Stop on July 22nd and the 23rd. And I do want to let you guys know that I am taking all the proceeds from the door, and I'm going to be donating them to my friend's family. One of my childhood neighbors growing up was very tragically she was murdered. There's no other way to say it. On May 10th. And she leaves behind 6 daughters ranging from age 21 to 13. So what I'm doing is I cut a door deal with the Tobin Group, who've been super generous and really good to me. And I'm going to pay the comics, I'm going to, pay my flyer guy. And then every penny I make is going to go right to that family, because I grew up across the street from them. They were part of my childhood, and so those 2 shows are going to be fundraising strictly, and I'm super excited because I've been working on a new 45 minutes for the last year or so I'm excited. Like I've been doing my bits all the way through the whole year, but if people came to see me last year at Nick's headlining, they're getting a pretty much like 90% all new material, so I'm super excited. And so it's going to be a great night. It's going to be really fun, and we're going to do some good. We're going to make something good happen, I think.
So that's Friday the 22nd, Saturday the 23rd.
Yep, you got it.
Wow.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear about your friend, Laura. That's tragic. That's awful.
It's awful. It is. But we're gonna make something good come of it. So
maybe we can make it to one of those, Eric. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'd love to have you. I would love to have you, of course.
I haven't been to Nick's in probably a decade. I hate to say it. So I think we're overdue.
I was like one of those Nick's kids. Like I would, like the second I turned like 18, I would go there and like watch the comics. That's the first place I ever saw Lenny Clark and Joe Yannetti. I remember that too. Oh my God. Yeah. I spent a lot of time at Nick's.
It's legendary. Nick's is just arguably the most legendary place in Boston. Still.
So cool. Like it's so cool that I have my name like on the marquee, and like, I mean, that's so fucking cool. You know,
is.
Like it's like not a big deal for some people, but to me, it's like a really big deal, because it's like I went from like trying comedy to being like, oh my God, look at my name up there. That's amazing. You know what I mean?
Hey, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit.
Hoping so.
Yeah, well, just keep grinding and shining, Laura. I think you're awesome, and I really appreciate you coming on our show. And if I can make it down to that, I definitely want to. But either way, I'll be promoting it, and I'll send it out on Twitter and social media and stuff, because that that's really powerful and beautiful that you're doing that for your friend and her family.
Well, thank you. I have a little Instagram flyer thingy I can send you, and you can, if you want, no pressure. I'm not,
No, I'll totally share. You kidding me? You're in with the Jackmans now, Laura. You're in the club now. We're a mafia. We're fucking Dorchester Mafia.
We are. And I have to say, you in particular were very nice and kind and flattering after my Wilbur shows, and anytime I saw your name kind of pop up, I'd be like, "Oh, you were so nice." So I very much appreciated how supportive you were, because there were some people that were there were some of Tim's fans. One of Tim's fans was like, "She's like a female Ray comp," and I'm like, "Fair, but also fuck off." And then and then one of the other ones was like, "Your opener sucked, but you were great," and I'm like, "Do you understand that? You are insulting him. He chose me, you fucking dummy." But anyway, I don't, as Ben said.
Laura, fuck those people. Fuck the haters. Okay.
Real class act they are.
Yes.
They're real class act. Why don't you try what is it, Eliza?
Yes. That was I'm trying to remember what the line that I said at the end. Your father was a real class act. That's it. Yeah.
But what was your father, Laura?
I mean, really, you're gonna make me do it? I don't know if I can do it. All right, hold on. What if I fuck up? All right, hang on. Your father was a fucking clown.
There it is.
Still,
folks. If you haven't seen it, folks, it's Laura Severse. Subversive. She's in a great skit called The Wallet. It's on YouTube with Dan Carney and Tim Dillon. It's one of the greatest 90 seconds pieces of art that's ever going to exist in human history. She's a brilliant comedian. Laura, tell everyone where they can find you and check you out.
Instagram is the best place to follow me, because Facebook sucks and I never keep up with my website. So follow me on Instagram. I put all my big shows up there. I don't put my dumb little bar shows, but I put my big shows up on Instagram. And I engage with anybody. So I probably shouldn't say that, but I try to reach out. I will get back to you if you whatever. But I'm on Instagram. Laura. Okay, I've been married almost 20 years. Laura Severse. On Instagram. That's it.
Awesome. I got a lot of information down below. So yeah, check her out, guys. She's a lot of fun. She's a brilliant comedian representing Dorchester and Boston. Beautiful, beautiful part of the world. We love it. We do. We love it. It's great stuff. Well, thanks for tuning in, folks. Yeah, Dirty Dot. And we'll be back again with more Jackman Radio. We appreciate you tuning in. And as always, click subscribe if you haven't on this channel. Follow me all on social media. Become a patron, patreon.com/jackmanradio. And again, we love you, and be safe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.